Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And in today's video, we are going to be continuing Rosario Vampire Scarlet Knight, What If Tsukune Was Spider-Man, Season 1, Part 2. As always, if you're new to the channel or if you're a regular and like what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. So where we last left off with our series, a shocking discovery was made on the part of Tsukune Aono, that being in him learning of his mixed blood heritage. You see, in this world where monsters and humans live separately from one another, Tsukune now finds himself in a situation where he lies somewhere in between, a hybrid if you will. But how did Tsukune gain his powers? Is there a secret that his parents have kept for him? Or is there even more of an underlying plot to this story? As Tsukune continues on at Yokai Academy with Mocha and with the allies he makes along the way, follow along in this diving mystery as Tsukune discovers the origins of his past as well as his latent ability. For all this and more, stay tuned as we now continue the series, and as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. It had been 2 weeks since Tsukune had arrived at Yokai Academy, the school for monsters. Of course, it was thanks to the rules that no one was allowed to reveal their monster form or identity that kept Tsukune relatively relieved. Although, under normal circumstances, you'd think he'd be a lot more fearful of his situation. Although honestly, what really concerned him was discovering who he truly was. Mocha had been helping him out. The two would go off to private areas around the school property, like the forest or the beach side, if you will. Or not so much a beach, more so an abandoned area of water where there were rocks, jagged edges, and overall things that could kill a normal human if they didn't tread lightly. And it was here where Mocha would help Tsukune train. More so just to learn about what he could and couldn't do. For the most part, Tsukune's powers reflected that of a spider. He had a weird sixth sense that allowed him to detect when danger was approaching at the last moment. He was able to make webbing organically that came from his wrist or from the palm of his hands, as well as being able to have an increase in strength, speed, stamina, all of those good old reflexive super abilities that you would associate with normal superpowers. For Mocha, she was entirely impressed. I mean, with all of this taken into consideration, she couldn't help but ask, "Tsukune, are you sure you're not a monster?" "Mocha, I'm positive I'm not a monster. Up until the day I met you, I couldn't do any of this." "But wait, now that I think about it, my powers didn't manifest until you bit me. So how do I know you didn't give me these powers? Are you sure you're a vampire?" "That's a rude thing to say. I'm sorry, Mocha, really." "It's fine, I understand. But seriously, I am a vampire, and you've seen it through and through. It's what I've always been. And I've never bitten anyone that could give them powers. But I thought vampire bites turned people into vampires. That is a highly overblown misconception, and it's very offensive to us vampires." I'm sorry. "Yeah, just because we bite someone and drink their blood doesn't mean we can turn them into vampires. It's not how that works. The only way to turn someone into a vampire is for them to want to have it willingly. That's why more of coercion goes into turning someone into a vampire than anyone else. It's not, oh, I'm going to drink all your blood and I'm going to force you to become a vampire, no sort of thing. It's more along the lines of giving someone an option. Usually in the more aggressive lines of business, it's usually something along the lines of Either you become a vampire willingly and survive this ordeal, or I drink all of your blood and you die anyway. So it's extortion. Well, I mean, we try to stay away from that practice. I know, at least for my family, we would never do something like that. But in traditional lines of work, it's what vampires used to do to humans. The fear of just dying and fading away in this world was something that no one wanted. So naturally, they gave in and accepted to becoming vampires. It's how we were able to grow our ranks. However, the process has been more or less abolished over the last centuries or so. And since you have different types of vampires, those type of practices are no longer needed. Wait, so vampires can reproduce? Of course they can, Tsukune. When someone like myself, who was already born a vampire, I don't have to worry about changing or anything like that. So tell me, which ones are stronger? Tsukune would ask. A born vampire or a transformed vampire? Well, typically speaking, those who are born from vampire nobility are usually stronger than those that are changed, although you do have the rare exceptions, but those are far and few in between. I see. But that still doesn't explain why I am, well, what I am. Although, to be entirely honest, I have no idea what I am to begin with. For Tsukune, as much as he wanted to get home and get to the bottom of things, he had no way of communicating with the human world. And on top of that, the bus that traveled between worlds wasn't going to be back until the beginning of next month. So for another few weeks, Tsukune was still going to be stuck here. Of course, he had to think back over his life really carefully. Was there anything that could have given this away? Maybe some moment in his life that could have explained how he could do what he could do? But the more Tsukune thought about it, nothing came to mind. His parents never showed any ability or tried to hide anything from him. Either they were just really, really good at hiding their powers, or they genuinely didn't have them. And if that was the case, then what did that say about Tsukune? How did he have these abilities? No one knew for sure. In the meantime, though, there was another girl in Tsukune's class, one that had been watching him from a distance. The girl's name was Kurumu. Kurumu, a girl with long flowing blue hair that she kept tied into a ponytail. The girl had been watching Tsukune from a distance and decided that now was the time to make her move. It started when Tsukune was walking about on the school grounds all by himself when he heard someone in the distance, a girl who was keel over. She looked like she wasn't feeling all too well. Kurumu would look up into Tsukune's eyes longingly. She explained to him that she didn't feel all that well, and Tsukune, being the kind-hearted boy that he was, decided he would help her to the nurse's office. Although little did Tsukune realize that he now found himself under the influence. But not just Tsukune, every boy in the school in particular, and it seemed as though Mocha was the only one that was in her own mind and faculties. When she tried to speak to Tsukune, though, he acted entirely weird, acting as if he didn't like her, as if he didn't know or care about her. It was at that moment, though, that Mocha would be informed by an unlikeliest of source, a voice, the voice of inner Mocha. It spoke to her through the rosary around her neck, explaining that Tsukune was now under the influence of a succubus. Of all the things. As Mocha would now fight desperately to get Tsukune to snap out of it and to finally come to his senses, especially when she came to the nurse's office and found that Kurumu had her, self all over Tsukune and was ready to devour him in a lot of different ways that you can interpret, their sort of consummation would be broken In a fit of rage, she ended up grabbing Tsukune and flinging him out of the window, sending him flying off into the distance. Mocha would run out, extremely worried for his safety, but Tsukune was surprisingly fine. Yeah, being thrown out the window, that kinda stung a bit, but thankfully, the way that he had been becoming acclimated to his abilities, it allowed him to land relatively safely. However, when Kurumu eventually caught up with him, now sprouting her succubus wings and her nails that had now grown into talon-like claws, she would decide that now was the time to sink her teeth into her prize Tsukune. You see, the succubus population had been decreasing for a while now, and the females of said populace had taken it upon themselves to, well, grow in size, if you will. That's why female succubi were tasked with finding those whom they were compatible with. That way they could up the numbers. But they weren't just supposed to meet around with just any old fella. No, they had to find those who had a strong power or a strong tie. This meant finding those who were from a powerful clan or those who were just powerful monsters in general. And for some reason, the scent that Tsukune gave off, it wasn't human, but it wasn't really monster either. It was something new, like a new flavor that had come into existence. It was exhilarating, intoxicating. It wasn't something that could be overlooked. She wasn't sure how to quite put her finger on it, but whatever Tsukune was, that was what the bloodline needed. And she didn't like that Mocha was getting in the way, so now she had to die. Tsukune found himself protecting Mocha as he tried to fend off against Kurumu. Surprisingly enough, she would be shocked by the boy's increase in strength, the fact that he was able to manhandle her and actually, in some ways, overpower her. Although she had the advantage when it came to flying, so flying him high enough in the sky, she would attempt to drop him from a great distance, believing he could survive that if he fell into the trees, at least. Mocha, however, not wanting to take the chance, would rush to save Tsukune. In the process, the rosary being pulled from around their neck and allowing for inner Mocha to emerge. And safe to say, the vampire did not take too kind to the succubus. In fact, she dispatched and made short work of her, and because of Kurumu's earlier declarations of wanting to kill her, inner Mocha did not take too kindly to this in any way. In fact, she was actually ready to dispose of the succubi once and for all, but surprisingly enough, it was Tsukune who would stop her from her advancements. "Why are you getting in my way, Tsukune? She's the one who came to pick a fight. I'm just going to end it." "Come on, it doesn't have to be like this. You've already won in proving your point. Isn't that enough?" "You are truly naive, human boy, if I can even call you that. You're nothing like the other Mocha, are you?" "No, I'm not. I am my own being. We may be Mocha in name, but that's it. We are two entirely different people, and I don't share the same sentiments as my counterpart." Inner Mocha would go in for a strike. However, Tsukune would grab her arm, looking at her seriously. "I said that's enough." "Oh. Coming from the human boy who didn't even know he had powers all too long ago, and it seems you've decided to put on your big boy pants." Inner Mocha would smile, and for some reason, Tsukune smiled back. Kurumu couldn't describe what was happening here, but what happened next was that the two of them started fighting. Inner Mocha throwing roundhouse kicks, and Tsukune managing to block and counter. She jumped high into the air and moved behind them, going for a back heel kick to the face, Tsukune catching her ankle at the last moment and spinning her around. She would land on the side of a tree before bouncing back. Quicker than Tsukune could counter this time, she would end up kicking him in the face before he landed to the ground. As she stood over him, she reached out her hand, picking him back up once more, before... Ow! Nice moves. You're definitely interesting. But you should know, Inner Mocha really does care about you. Wait, but aren't you Inner Mocha? I mean Ow! Don't confuse me. That hurt! Oh, please, I've been able to gauge your power. My slaps are nothing more but a love tap. Man up! Whatever. What was that? Ow! Okay, now that's... Seriously. Don't make her worry so much. And with that, Inner Mocha would put the rosary back around her neck, causing for regular Mocha, or pink hair Mocha, to finally come back to the surface of her consciousness, and she was indeed happy to see that Tsukune was safe. Kurumu, well, seeing Tsukune fight to defend her, now fell even more madly in love, and as a result, she decided Tsukune was going to be hers. However, little did the two girls realize that they were also being watched by a third party, a girl shorter than the both of them, who sported a cape of sorts and the hat of a witch. This was a girl who had managed to skip a lot of grades due to her brains and smarts. Yukari Sundo. She was from the descendants of witches, wizards, warlocks, whatever you wanted to call them. Safe to say, their kind did not get along too well with monsters, to say the least. And, as she was in the same grading class as Tsukune and Mocha, her class president and his cronies were always giving her a hard time. But she able to respond by summoning a couple of metal pots and pans that she dropped on their heads, or she would drop on the head of anyone that bothered or messed with her, along with her other skills and pranks that she liked to pull. Well, the young girl had been watching Mocha for a while now because she had a crush on Mocha. Hey, don't make that face. Sometimes people like to swing both ways. We don't discriminate here. All the same though, the young girl had a big crush on the smart, intelligent, sexy vampire student, and as such, Yukari did not like the idea of her spending a lot of time with Tsukune. Of course, Mocha was too nice to tell her off or to say anything that would be mean to the girl, and, well, she decided to make Tsukune's life a living hell, from dropping stuff on his head to causing inconveniences whenever possible, using her wand to tie his shoelaces together and causing him to trip, or attempting to. Tsukune's spider sense really came in handy. No matter how many times she tried to drop something on his head, his spider sense was able to detect it almost every single time. Although, because he would be so distracted catching everything that she had dropped, she was always able to sneak in an attack that he just couldn't react to. And, well, those were the small victories, but she would take them where she could get them. Of course, though, because of Mocha giving this girl a lot more than the undue attention, Kurumu thought that this was her opportunity to get closer to Tsukune. Of course, for Tsukune, he was able to learn more about the witch girl, and about how witches were treated in general. Similar to what Tsukune would feel, that being in the form of her being a hybrid, if you will, a side or a race that were scorned by both human and monster society. Although in the end, it wasn't really too bad, seeing as how they at least had a home here in this world. Although when Tsukune heard about this, it made him think. Maybe she was a lot more like him than even he realized. The girl always being picked on, never really having a place to identify herself. On that level, he could relate. As such, when he heard that she was in trouble, he didn't hesitate to go after her. She had run into the forest that had now been covered in a fog, and as such, The student council president, along with his cronies, had decided to go and teach her a lesson. They backed her into a corner as they transformed into their monster states, that being the form of lizard men. This caused Tsukune to think for a moment. When he was able to find them, his sense of smell, they kind of smell like Dr. Connors from science class. Was the doctor a lizard man also? Huh, who would have thought? But still, what mattered most was getting Yukari out of this mess, as Tsukune would stand in between her and the large lizard men who were ready to devour and destroy her. Mocha would also arrive, assuring Yukari that she didn't have to do things on her own. And while it wasn't nice for her to pull pranks and tricks, if she really wanted to make friends, then she should just try being herself. Yukari would be surprised, even after everything she had done, the fact that Mocha and even Tsukune were coming to her defense. It truly meant a lot to her. Tsukune would take the fight to the three lizard boys, now actually having a way of putting his skills to the test. His strength was impressively high for what he expected. In fact, despite the power of the three students in their lizard-like state, he was able to hold his own effectively. And of course, through shenanigans and other situations, while Mocha was definitely, supportive, it was inner Mocha where she got her true power from. And by chance, as Tsukune shot a webbing, attempting to web up one of the lizard boys' mouths, it ended up pressing itself between her chest where the rosary was, and when Tsukune found himself being pulled away, well, you get the idea. The rosary yanked off, inner Mocha woke up, and then after that, they made short work of the lizard men. Kurumu would arrive also to make sure that Tsukune was alright, and even Yukari. Yeah, the witch could be annoying, and sometimes she acted more like a bitch, but still, she didn't want to see anyone get eaten or killed. All the same, the three girls were grateful, and Yukari, she now saw Tsukune in a different light. Of course, though, now with having more girls fawn over him, while Tsukune was grateful for the friends he had made along the way, he knew he couldn't stay here for long, given who or what he was. Eventually, the day would come when the bus and the bus driver that only traveled here once a month was set to arrive, and Tsukune, he was prepared to go home. Of course, while attempting to do so, there were some more unsavory shenanigans, that being in the form of three, safe way of putting it, absolute losers, who tried to jump Tsukune. Keyword being tried. Tsukune really didn't feel like dealing with it, so he made short work of the three would-be monster losers who were obsessed with Mocha, Kurumu, and Yukari, before eventually making his way to where the bus was supposed to pick him up. But before he had a chance to leave, all three girls would be there. They caught up to him. Yukari, seeing that Tsukune had his bags packed and that he was trying to leave, and Kurumu, the only one that could fly, would carry the two girls to where Tsukune was, as they stopped him from leaving. Of course, Mocha understood why he was trying to, and while she understood, she still viewed him as a friend and didn't want him to leave. And the other girls, they were just as perplexed. Even though they hadn't known Tsukune for all that long, they knew that there was something he was hiding, something that only he and Mocha knew about. And they wanted answers. I mean, I know we just met, Kurumu would ask, but do you really think you can't trust us that much, and only Mocha? Yeah, Yukari would say. Whatever she knows, we want to know it too. You guys really don't want to. But the two girls were persistent. Tsukune, not seeing any other choice, he decided to tell them. If they hated him, then he could just catch that bus and get out of here. No harm, no foul. I'm not a monster. would be laughing hysterically. Okay, I'm sorry. I know you're trying to be serious, but seriously? After everything I've seen you do and firsthand, you're telling me you're not a monster? Even Yukari couldn't help but laugh. I think he's delusional. He's serious, Mocha would say. Just look. She would then take a bite from Tsukune's neck, drawing some of his blood, and they saw. Why is it purple? Or violet? I don't know. You know what I mean, Kurumu would say. It's not like ours. Like yours? Tsukune would ask. But I thought witches were considered hybrids. Well, they kind of are of sorts. Here you go. Kurumu would grow one of her talon claws and would give a little tiny prick to Yukari. Ow! Sorry, it was faster that way. But here, look, see? The girls would reveal their blood. For Mocha and for Kurumu, theirs was a darker shade of blue, while Yukari's, while it was maybe on the lighter shade, kind of almost like a baby blue, it was still blue. But Tsukune's, well, his was the odd one out. You can't even try to pass it off as some other shade of blue. It's clearly purple. Yeah, that's what I know. So what? Are you something like a hybrid? Monster mother, human father, vice versa? I have no idea. That's the thing, I don't know. I mean, I've been really thinking about it. I remember a time when my dad was fixing the roof, right? He accidentally cut his palm. I saw his blood firsthand, and I know it was red. Same thing with my mom. She once cut her finger cutting the vegetables. I was just there by chance, but I saw the blood from her finger. It was red. So I know for a fact that they have red blood. I had red blood until she bit you? So you turned him into something? Kurumu would ask Mocha. I didn't turn him into anything. How many times do I have to say this? You know how vampire biology works. We can't turn people unless they want to be turned. Yeah, right. You probably use your seductive charm on him. That's funny coming from the succubus. The two girls were ready to get into each other's faces, but Tsukune would calm them both down. Guys, I wasn't coerced or anything like that. It just happened by chance. But still, it doesn't change the fact that whatever I am, I'm not human, but I'm not a monster. Yukari would think. I think that I read a book about something like this once. I was really young, and it was so long ago, but still. Perhaps you're a late bloomer. Like, maybe it was always in your DNA, but it just didn't awaken until now. Well, it's an odd coincidence for it to just awaken here all of a sudden. I mean, none of this makes any sense to me. So that's why you were trying to go home? Yeah, I thought I could find answers there. But what if you don't? Then you wouldn't be able to get back here. Oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to go home to find the answers, Kurumu would say. But you really need to think. If up until now you had no idea that monsters existed, you suddenly gain monster-like powers and you're at a monster school, don't you want to try to find whatever you can here first before you go home? When she put it that way, she actually had a point. So don't try to run off so quickly. We'll promise to keep your secret and we'll help you figure out, well, whatever you are. You guys aren't afraid of me? Tsukune would ask. I mean, if you were just a human, then yeah, I'd be a little bit. But I mean, you're obviously something. Really something, Kurumu would say. I mean, truth be told, I have no idea what you are, but I know I want it. I want all of it. Hey, who said that you get to have him? Yukari would ask. And who said he belonged to either of you? As Mocha finally got in on it, all three girls grabbing him in every which way in every direction. Tsukune's mine! No, mine! I want him! I saw him first! I bit him first! He touched my boobs first! Who cares about big boobs? Guys, I think we need to focus on the more important thing at hand. Unknown to the four students off in the distance, a girl sat on her motorcycle. She had gone out for an evening ride, and she had just stopped to take in the view when she saw the four down below. She couldn't help but roll her eyes as she was getting ready to leave. Oh boy, I think I see where all the trouble's gonna be coming from. I knew I should have just joined the family business, but no, I just had to come to this damn school. Thanks a lot, Dad. Later on that evening, as Tsukune arrived back to the dorms, he was heading to go and brush his teeth for the night before going to bed. As he rounded the corner, he bumped into another boy. He had round-like glasses and for the most part seemed to be shy, almost as if he were afraid of his own shadow. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't... It's okay. It's fine. I didn't see where I was going either, Tsukune would say, as he helped the boy up to his feet. Name Tsukune. Tsukune Aono. My name's Patton. Patton Parnell. The two boys would say their apologies once more before going their separate ways. For Tsukune, he had already had more than enough thrills, and he never knew what more was going to be coming around the corner. So, after brushing his teeth, it was off to bed for whatever tomorrow held for him. But as for Patton, he was going to be staying up a little longer. As he made his way out of the door of the boys' dorms, walking off into the dead of night. You see, Patton had a craving, a hunger, and well, you know what they say about midnight snacks. This concludes Rosario Vampire, Scarlet Knight, What If Tsukune Was Spider-Man, Season 1, Part 2. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications. Stay tuned for Monday's video as we continue Day Alive, Spirit of the Spider. What If Shido Was Spider-Man 2099, Season 1, Part 3. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.